Hey guys, welcome back. Joe Brunsman, Insurance Broker to the Stars. Today, hopefully in 10 minutes or less, I am going to show you how to understand and intelligently explain to others the idea of cyber insurance. Now, you have to understand that my industry has done an absolutely atrocious job, and I think to some degree there's some sort of, I would say job security that insurance guys have by trying to make something very, very complex. But at the end of the day, it's actually pretty straightforward. So before we begin, this is my latest book, Damage Control, Cyber Insurance Compliance. If you want to learn more about this, it's about 500 pages long, everything you wanted to know about that particular topic. So why am I talking about this now? Well, increasingly, people are being required to have cyber insurance. So it's their MSPs are requiring their clients to have cyber insurance, or their clients are getting that contractual requirement from somewhere else, or the clients are going, hey, I know that I cannot just sit here and assume that no one's going to come after me. I need to have cyber insurance. And then the question becomes, okay, what do I look for in a cyber policy? How do I know what this stuff means? Maybe I've got 4 different quotes. Each of those quotes is 90 pages long. What am I even looking for? How do I figure this out without just spending an inordinate amount of time doing this type of thing? So before we begin, kind of a quick intro here. I've looked at well over 200 cyber policies. I'm sure there's way more than that by now. Every single policy is going to be different. Every policy is complex. Cyber insurance, it's not a legal term. It's not even an insurance industry term. It's just this general idea that we have where something goes wrong with a computer, somehow there's insurance for that. It's not really that simple, but at the same time, you can look down the road and you can say, okay, that's a sport compact. That's a mid-sized pickup truck. That's a super small car. That's a hatchback, right? But what do they all really have in common at the end of the day? They have 4 wheels, they have seats, they have a steering wheel, right? Once you think of it in those terms, it's actually way easier to explain this topic. So here's just a recent comparison just to show you guys all of these are different, so you still need to do your due diligence. This is something that I put together for a recent client of mine. I got a bunch of different quotes from different insurance companies. And this just shows you some of these coverage options, hey, maybe they're going to be super important for you. Some of them, they could just be utterly meaningless. It just depends on your business. Now, with that, how do we just break down cyber insurance, right? To its just most fundamental levels. Well, there's 2 parts really to every cyber policy, and it's just that simple. The first is going to be third-party coverage. The second is going to be first-party coverage. What is third-party coverage for? That's really for your clients, your vendors, other parties. It's when somebody wants money from your business following some type of cyber event. What is first-party coverage? Well, that's probably your business. So that's money that your business has to pay or say needs to pay or potentially is legally required to pay following some type of cyber event. Now, what might actually be covered under a cyber policy? Well, it's easy to really break it down. Now, obviously, there's a lot of nuance to this. There's carvebacks, there's exclusions, there's amendatory endorsements. There's all kinds of stuff which really goes into that. That's really the insurance guy's side. But really what you need to know is the following. There's only a couple buckets of things that could actually be on here. First, third-party cyber-related claims. So once again, we're talking about a regulator comes after you, a client comes after you, a vendor comes after you, some other business comes after you, right? So that could be like a media liability claim. Next, you're going to have data breach, ransomware, loss of funds, and miscellaneous coverages. Some of those, once again, could be really important for you, could be absolutely meaningless to you. Just depends on how your business is set up and what your risk tolerance is. So let's go through these and just look at, hey, what are those kind of big ticket items that you need to be looking for in each one of these buckets? And we're going to start with data breach. So this is generally both access and acquisition of covered information. What do I mean by that? PII, PHI, or PCI? Personally identifiable information, protected health information, or card information, credit cards, debit cards, that type of thing. So what do you want to be looking for? Well, an attorney, they're going to help you understand the very complex, ever-changing legal landscape that deals with the data breach. Next, forensics. Determine, hey, was there actually both access and acquisition of client information? Or are we doing something called a risk of harm analysis? If you want to learn more about that stuff, once again, it's in my book. You can find it for free. Hacker damage. Hey, did something happen to your computer system? Will the policy respond? Try and fix that computer system. Get you back up and operating where you were before. Next, notifications. Let me move my beautiful face here. Credit monitoring, business interruption reimbursement, and potentially regulatory fines and penalties. Ideally, that's why you have the attorney there to avoid that type of stuff. Next, let's talk about ransomware. What are the big ticket items you're looking for there? An attorney. Forensics. Once again, determine scope and nature of the breach. Remove the offending piece of malware. Next is going to be the ransom payment. Caveat, sometimes it's illegal to pay the ransom, so don't just assume that cyber insurance is going to come to the rescue. I'll link a video right above here if you want to learn more about that. Hacker damage, business interruption reimbursement, situationally, notifications, credit monitoring, regulatory fines and penalties. I'm not really going to go into why that's situational, but suffice to say, it could be in there. Next, loss of funds. And this is where you have to be careful because there are really no standard terms here. So it could be called cybercrime, wire fraud, push payment, reverse social engineering, customer account coverage, invoice manipulation coverage, social engineering fraud. It just depends. So this is, one area where you really need to go through it with just a fine-tooth comb, figure out, hey, based on your internal controls, how you operate, what are you really worried about here? Are you transferring client money all the time, or do you never do that? Are you worried that your bookkeeper or your accountant in-house there or your CFO could get tricked into wiring money somewhere it's not supposed to go? Are you concerned that bad guy could get into your system and then trick your clients into sending them fake invoices and having all that money go somewhere it's not supposed to go? You just got to look through here. And increasingly what I'm seeing is specific rules put in there, so just be on the lookout for that. Some of these policies are now saying, hey, we're not going to reimburse you for this loss unless you can evidence you've done, say, the following things. One of which may be you utilized a prearranged callback number before that money was actually sent out on behalf of your client. You just have to be careful here. Just make sure you actually know what you're getting. These are not standard terms, so you can have two policies, lay them side by side. They could both have wire fraud coverage, mean entirely different things. So do your homework here. Next, miscellaneous and often missing. And could these be really important to you? Absolutely. Could they be totally meaningless to you? Sure, they could. So what are some of these? Crypto jacking, bricking coverage, system failure, business interruption, utility fraud, invoice manipulation, dependent business interruption, dependent system failure. So if you have, say, a cloud provider or you're using an MSP and you're worried that, hey, if these guys go down because of a cyber event or some other type of event like a bad patch, and because of that, my business is going to lose money, right? I'm depending on them for my ability to make money. You need to look at the two in gold. Next, customers' accounts, PCI DSS, media liability, voluntary shutdown, bodily injury, property damage, both first and third party, et cetera, et cetera. You'll see a whole list of these things. But you can just read the definition and just follow the bouncing ball, and it should be pretty apparent on what these things actually cover. Now, don't forget, yeah, you're going to be looking at the policy. There's a little more to it. If you want to know about these, hey, how much cyber insurance do I need? How do I figure out what deductible I need? What are the elements that go into that? What are some things that might get you in trouble there? What are the problems that cyber insurance probably cannot and will not solve? Maybe you want to take a deeper dive into that social engineering loss type coverage because let's say you're handling a lot of money or you're doing a lot of wire transfers. You need to dig a little deeper into there. There's a lot more to that story than you may otherwise just assume. All right, with that, let me move my little head back here. That's pretty much it. And that was less than 10 minutes. So now you know the 80-20. You should be able to understand cyber insurance. You got the two sides. You've got the buckets. You generally know what to look for there. Make sure you read through the policy. Make sure you look at the definitions. You look at any sort of exclusions or mandatory endorsements. At the end of the day, make the insurance broker do his job. Come to him with the scenarios that you're worried about. Ask him if that is reasonably going to be covered under your policy. Likewise, look at all those miscellaneous coverage features. Read the definitions and see, okay, is this something that I'm worried about? Is this something that I'm not worried about? But at least now you can make an educated decision on your own cyber insurance. With that, if you found this useful and you learned something today, like, share, comment, subscribe, send this out to your fellow business owners, help keep them out of trouble. I put out a new video every Thursday. Right above me here, I'm going to put my cyber insurance playlist where there are more videos just like this. Over there, I'm going to put a picture of my head. And with that, that's all I got for you. I hope you learned something. Stay safe out there.